Hi everyone, welcome to week 2. We'll be busy this week building some building blocks for our week 4 short paper. And this week we'll discuss paraphrasing, plagiarism, and then develop another part of a formal paper, the headings, followed by the creation of an introduction. The first discussion question this week will address paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is very beneficial. It's a learning tool, and it's the art of expressing someone else's ideas in your own words. We do this every day. We might have a conversation with a friend who says she's calling to tell you that she's unable to come to the party because she has the flu. So you might turn to someone else and say that this friend won't be able to attend due to illness. Well, this is a paraphrase. You've taken the exact original words and said them in your own way without losing any of the important meaning. It really is a way to show respect to the ideas of others. And it's important because it avoids plagiarism, it avoids quotes, and it increases your understanding just by the very process of creating a paraphrase. It's natural in our speech, but it's a little more challenging when we write a paraphrase. So as time goes forward and you use it and do it more and more, you practice it a little bit more, you get better. So let's start with a paraphrasing exercise that will help you get started. Go to the website that's given in your assignment and look at the left-hand side of that website when you get there. You'll find a paraphrasing exercise section. Click on that and you will find 5 paragraphs. You'd need to choose 3 of them to practice your paraphrasing. So copy those chosen 3 paragraphs into a Word document, and then underneath each one, write your paraphrase of that same paragraph. You want to capture the main ideas of your own paragraph with your language. And although there are sample answers in there to help you to know how kind of to do it, you can't use those paraphrases as an assignment. No, there is no right answer on how to paraphrase anything because everyone will do it a little bit differently, and that's just fine. But once you've completed those 3 paraphrases, copy and paste all 3 paragraphs, the original paragraphs and their paraphrases into the discussion forum, where you then are going to discuss what you learned, how you did, how you need to improve, and lend some helpful suggestions to your peers about how to improve their paraphrases. You need to be sure to complete your initial post with the sufficient word count to develop your thoughts and get it posted on time. So let's take a look at what you will see there. This is one of the actual paragraphs that you need to paraphrase. So on your Word document, you would include this top one, and then underneath you would include a paraphrased version of that. The second discussion question addresses plagiarism. Please be sure to read the readings, the lectures, the videos before attempting this discussion question. It's important to really address this plagiarism concept in your mind because it is completely unacceptable. It's the copying of someone else's words, and it's considered a very serious academic offense. It's monitored here at Grantham University, and all faculty are trained to find it. So it's very important that you don't do it. And most of the time, it will be maybe just accidental, inadvertent, you don't think about it, but we have tools to help you find that and get it corrected. And again, the more you practice, the easier and more important it will become to you. So we want you to go to the assigned website, and there's a quick quiz in there to see how much you know about plagiarism. It's not a quiz that's part of your grade, it's just informational in nature, but you need to kind of self-assess and see if you really are as up-to-date on this as you think you are. Once you've taken that quiz, then you need to discuss the impact of cheating as well as one surprising fact that you learned as a result of that quiz. And this will be just kind of a fun assignment, but it's a serious assignment. And I want you to really discuss with your peers how important this is, what you learned, and how can you prevent it in your own life. For our first assignment, we're going to introduce the concept of headings. These are so essential to organize your writing. They will assist you in understanding how you need to include the information. They serve as signposts to the reader to provide clarity. And this will really help you as you divide your topic into pieces and make it a little more manageable. You will notice that the evidence from the thesis statements become most of your headings. This is really exciting because once you create that well-developed thesis statement, it's going to guide you right into where your headings need to go. Now, the number of headings and the levels that you choose depend on the individual paper, of course. But of the 5 levels, there will only be the first 3 that you need to learn. They're the only 3 that will be used in this class, and honestly, throughout your program, you're probably never going to go past 3. There could be times that you do, but if you do, you just ask your faculty to help you understand it if you need that, and go out to the resources to find out how to do it. But for the most part, we just need to concentrate on the first 3. Now let's look at an actual example of APA 7 heading structure. You'll notice that each level in APA 7 is written exactly in the same way. The only choice you have is whether or not you center it or put it on the left, or whether you italicize it or not. Otherwise, they're all the same. So let's look at level 1. And for our purposes in most of this course, up until week 6, we're going to use our title as level 1. Just to save us a little time and make it a little shorter and a little easier. So your title's sitting there, and you know that you center the title on page 2, you bold it, and you use title case, which means only the only the important words are capitalized. Then for level 2, which is really just a way of subdividing level 1 into 2 more manageable pieces, those are also to the left. They are also bolded, and they have title case. So the difference between 1 and 2 is simply, do I center it or do I put it to the left? And then going to level 3, in terms of the structure, you can see that it is the same with one exception. It has been italicized. Otherwise, it's sitting on the left, it's bolded, and you use title case. So really, these headings are very easy now because you don't have very many decisions to make. Just where does it go, and do you italicize it? So level 1 and level 2 look exactly the same, except 2 is pushed off to the side. So I don't think this is hard, and I think that you will actually enjoy doing it. Now let's practice, just for the fun of it, to create some headings from our little mythical paper we have going here about large breed dogs. With a paper that you create, you create your topic, you are going to choose your own thesis statement and thus your own headings. Let's see how the thesis statement can guide the entire organization of your paper. This is wonderful because those of you who say, but I don't know where to start, I don't know what to put on the paper. No, this will take care of it. Let's see how this happens. So we're going to use this sentence at the bottom as our thesis statement, and I have colored it up so that we can see the claim in the blue and the evidence in the green. So our topic, our title, we'll just make a simple one: large breed dogs make the best pets. And that's a simple title. The next thing we're going to place on that paper is an introduction. Headings do not touch each other without text being in between. So the next paragraph you would write would be your introduction. And the last sentence of that introduction would contain this thesis statement at the bottom. So using the evidence of this thesis statement, we'll come up with our headings. Number 1, protection. Number 2, loyalty. And number 3, workability. So those are all the same parts of speech. They're all nouns. And you can see that I haven't written those headings in exactly the same way that the evidence pieces are written. And that's logical because down below we're writing a sentence, and in our headings, we are writing headings. Headings are short, they're succinct for the most part for basic papers. And so I've just changed those words in this thesis statement to a different and shorter form of the same idea for these level 2 headings. So you can see that our title is level 1. Level 2 looks like our title. It's just shoved off to the left, and we have 3 level 2s. So that means that we're going to put 1 or more body paragraphs under each heading. But if I said to myself, you know, as I'm writing this paper, I'd really like to talk a little more about the ability to do work, because I think maybe my reader would be interested in what kind of work a large breed dog could do. So I want to expand that a little bit more. I want that to be bigger. So I'm going to subdivide that title or that information, that heading, that main idea into a couple of pieces. Well, let's see. I could put that one thing they do is pull carts, especially in Europe and some of those mountainous country. They actually put them to work pulling things. And in other parts of the country, they would herd cattle with these large dogs. So I'm going to say then that my title, Large Breed Pets or Dogs Make the Best Pets, has been subdivided into 3 pieces, 3 main ideas: their protection, their loyalty, their workability. That's level 2. And then I've decided that workability should be expanded a little bit. I want to talk more about that. So I'm going to talk about pulling carts and herding cattle. And those are my level 3s. Put in a conclusion, and you have a paper ready to write. It's all set up for you. You don't need to wonder, what am I going to write about? You don't need to wonder what the format should be, the organization. It's all right there for you. And so this is wonderful, but it is dependent on creating that very important thesis statement first. Please note that between every single heading, you have to have a paragraph. So under the workability heading, you're going to write a paragraph about the fact that large breed dogs do work. And then you're going to talk about the specifics of 2 types of work under those level 3 headings. But there it is, nothing hard about it. And you've chosen all of that and you're ready to go. But what if instead of you choosing your topic and your title and your thesis statement and your evidence pieces, instead of you choosing all that, what if you had an assignment that said, here, write about this? All right, let's take a look at what that might look like. So as a student, you might sometimes have to write your paper as not your choice, but as an assignment that is predetermined, such as this one. And in either case, your headings are going to still direct the activities. So here we have a case study, and it's actual assignment in one of the programs, and we're going to pretend that we're going to write this paper. We are not writing this paper. We are going to pretend that we're doing it. I just want you to learn how to set it up with the headings. And so I want you to review the assignment and then decide on how many level 2s and or 3s that you think you need and which types might be the best. And there's no one way to do this, but your choices must be at least logical. You'll create a new document with a title page and a page 2 with all of these, with the title and your outlined headings. And finally, page 3 will include a reference of the text how would you make a reference entry for your text, which is the Concise Guide to APA Style. If you're not sure, two things you can do. One is go to the syllabus, you might find a hint there. And number two, check out your resources, your text, and maybe the APA website for how do I format the reference entry for a book. So those are the pieces that you need to do. Now let's take a look at what you're going to need to do. Before I go on, let me mention as well that you have an ebook, but ebooks are considered as print books. So you probably, in looking around, you're not going to find a resource to show you how to do a reference entry for an ebook, just per se. Just do it as a print book, just the simple form. All right, so we have a case study. It says, as a newly hired nurse manager for a small 25-bed rehab center, you've been warned that the facility is on the brink of bankruptcy. You know that you must conduct a thorough analysis to begin to understand the situation. So here's your direction. You are to assess the financial situation of the facility, and you must include the following aspects in the assignment. And for every bullet point you see there, those are the main thoughts, the main points that you must include. The word assess here is an action verb, and it's underlined. It's telling you, what are you supposed to do? Review it? No. Create something? No. You're supposed to assess it or analyze it. So that's telling you how you need to look at the problem. And then what is the problem? The financial situation. Including the following aspects is where you need to do your thinking. So if I were going to use level 2s and 3s, how would I do it? Your level 1 on page 2 is going to be the title. So you need to create a title for this paper that you're pretending to write. And just look around and figure it out. What are you supposed to do here? That's going to be the title of your paper. And then you need to break down this assessing the financial situation. It's obvious that you need to break it down in manageable pieces. And those are going to become your levels, and level 2s and maybe level 3s. So take a look and see what you can do. Now, the first words under each of those bullets are verbs. Estimate, evaluate, consider, and plan. Those should not show up in your headings. Those just tell you kind of what you would do if you were going to actually write the paper. Take a look at each one and see if they all should be level 2s. And then if it is to be a level 2, try to make that heading as simple and as short and as succinct as what we just saw. So, for instance, plan efficiencies to decrease spending in areas to increase reimbursement. That, if you knock off the word plan, the rest of that is not going to be a heading. That's way too long. You're going to want to go in there and just bite off what those important pieces are. There's one of them, there's one of those 4 that really is kind of calling your name when it comes to level 3s. It's kind of self-divided. And so you need to take a look at that and determine exactly what you need to get those levels up. So again, determine how many and which types of headings you would use to write this assignment. Look at each assignment carefully, because you might see where some level 3s could help. You are to create the outline of headings only on a new Word document. You are not to write this paper. You do not have to look up any of this information. You don't even have to really understand much about what it means. You're just going to try to find a way to make headings out of those inclusions that are bulleted. So you're going to place that on a Word document. You're going to create a title page, a page 2 with the outline of headings. Now remember, we are not making Roman numeral outlines. I mean, you probably learned to do that at some point, but we're not doing that. We're using headings. And then finally, a reference page entry, which is your textbook. All right, a couple of cautions. This is what we do not do. Level 1, level 2, level 3, followed by a level 1, level 2, level 3. That is not the way to subdivide. Let me show you what we are going to do. So A level 1 could be subdivided, your title could be subdivided into some level 2s, and there they are. And then one of those level 2s might be broken down a little further into level 3s to expand the thoughts a little bit. So you could subdivide the first level 2 or the second level 2. It doesn't really matter. It's what you need. You can see in the first example up there, we've subdivided level 2, and in the second example, we've subdivided the second level 2. So that doesn't matter. Just make it make sense wherever you think you want to expand a little more. And in this particular example, we have 2 level 1s going on. But for this week, I just want you to have one level 1 and then some 2s and 3s wherever you think they belong. For assignment 2, we're going to now begin introductions. And this is going to be the very first paragraph that you place in the paper. So its purpose is to help the reader to become interested in what you're writing and to just start off the tone and the idea of where you're going to go with this paper. It's sort of like meeting someone new. That first impression can provide a reason to get to know that person or a reason to never get acquainted. And introductions should really pull the reader in if they're carefully crafted and not push the reader away. We're going to be using a broad to narrow type of introduction. And we're going to, in that way, sort of sneak up on the paper content by creating a path of interest from the very first broad thought to the more narrow thoughts, and finally resulting in the thesis statement as the last nugget of interest. We finally reveal, what is this paper really about? And so it's like a triangle with the point on the bottom. So we need to create this interest by starting kind of general and then building down from a broad to a narrow view until we get to the thesis statement as the very last statement or sentence in our introduction. So we need at least 5 sentences. Let me show you how that's done. These 5 sentences start a very broad sentence. You can just be very general. Your reader's not going to have a clue where you're going yet, but you may be interested. Sentence 2 should be broad, but not very broad. It should start to narrow a little bit. Sentence 3 is going to be more focused. Again, you're making the reader curious without giving away the precise purpose. So you don't really want any information about your thesis statement up there yet. Each subsequent sentence remains a bit broad, but just continues to focus down to the thesis statement as the final sentence. So let's look at an example. So here we have again, this is our thesis statement. Sentence 1. All right, very broad. Dogs are often chosen as family pets. All right, well, we're kind of in the ballpark. We had the word dogs and pets up in our thesis statement, but from that, you don't really know where it's going yet. And then sentence 2 says the type of breed selected is considered prior, frequently considered prior to purchasing or adopting a pet. So again, I'm not sure exactly where I'm going here, but it's a little less broad. And it's beginning to show this pattern of narrowing a little bit. Sentence 3, certain characteristics in some breeds are more valuable. Now you're beginning to hint that there's some things you should look for, some certain characteristics, which certainly is in our thesis statement, but we're not saying anything about what they are yet, just a little more focused. Sentence 4, choosing the best breed and the most appropriate characteristics for the specific situation will be beneficial for both dog and owner. Now we're really getting there. What is the best breed? What are the characteristics? We're right on the doorstep of telling the reader what this is about, but we haven't sprung the surprise yet. That won't come until sentence 5. There's your thesis statement. Now the reader knows what you're talking about. It's a way that you can bring your reader down with you And when you're creating these introductions, it's the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to put your thesis statement at the top of the page and then begin crafting sentence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can even list them that way if you want to. And just bring that down. Of course, you're going to combine them in the end, and it will look like this. And you have a beautiful introduction. Your thesis statement is in the bottom. And as you saw, then we took that thesis statement and we created our headings from that. So for this assignment, start by creating a new Word document that conforms to these skills that we've been learning. I want you to choose your best 2 thesis statements from assignment 1, this in week 1. If I have given, or your instructor has given you any modifications, make sure those have been made, but go back and choose 2 of them. And you're going to create an introduction for each one using the principles that we've just reviewed. So you're going to then have a content page, and on page 2, you will place each thesis statement at the top of the page and then follow it with the introduction. This will help you, and it will help also your instructor as we take a look at these things. Headings and reference page are not required, even though it says this on the screen. That was an error, so just leave that off, that's fine. And please let your instructor know if you have any need or you have any questions. Have a great week, and we'll talk again soon.